All right, so in the previous exercise, we got a really good understanding of what Photoshop's doing here when it opens up an image. If I zoom all the way out on my images here, hitting Controller Command O, or zooming all the way out using Controller Command minus. Again, this idea that Photoshop's opening up the images at certain zoom percentages, communicating to us whether we have high quality or low quality images. That's great. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close out of the low res guy on the left hand side. I'm just going to click on the X on the document tab to close out of that guy. We're going to work with our high res image. Before moving forward, there's one more point that I want to make here, and I can't stress this enough, that when I go about resizing images here inside Photoshop, I want to resize copies of the images, not the original images. Let's say, for instance, I email you a photo. Maybe it's a product photo or something. Maybe you're doing some work for me or something like this. And you go and you resize this image down, which blows out all of the quality, right? You just resize it all the way down, so now we have a low quality version of that file. And then I come back to you and I say, hey, can you also give me a larger version of that image? And you go, no, I can't, because I just resized it all the way down and blew out all the quality. So what you always want to do is you want to make copies of your files before you do anything drastic to them, because there's no going back. As soon as you blow out all the quality, you can't ask Photoshop to recreate that quality or create a high quality image out of a low quality image. That's an important thing to understand. You can't take something that's low quality and make it high quality. You can take something that's high quality and make it low quality, no problem there. All right, now there's a dialog box that I want to introduce you to here. It's called the image size dialog box. You may have come across this guy in your travels. When I open up an image for the first time, whether it's something I've sourced from the web or perhaps a client has emailed me an image or something like this, the very first thing that I do is I get the image open inside Photoshop and I head up to the image menu and then down to image size. Or for myself, I'm always using this keyboard shortcut, Command-Option-I or Control-Alt-I on the Windows side. Okay, so go ahead and use that keyboard shortcut or choose image and then image size, and that'll bring us into this image size dialog box. Let's take a quick tour through this dialog box. We're going to be spending quite a bit of time inside this dialog box. So this guy's actually broken down into three sections. We have the top area, the middle area, and the bottom area. So let's take a quick look here. First of all, right across the top area, we have the pixel dimensions, okay, of the image. And as we saw in the previous exercise, when we used that document window pop-up, we learned that our image was 1500 pixels in width by 1500 pixels in height. Okay, so we're seeing that reflected here. Now I have to stress that the pixel dimensions of your image is the screen size of your image. I mentioned quite a while back that I do a lot of web design work. So I'm quite concerned about the pixel size of my image. Let's say I wanted to drop this guy on a web page and perhaps he's just going to be in a small sidebar over on the left-hand side, for instance. Well, sizing this guy at 1500 pixels by 1500 pixels is way too much. It's much larger than what I would require for a small graphic on the left-hand side of a website, right? So when I'm working on web design, I'm really concerned about the pixel dimensions. Below that, we have the document size. Now, this is the print size of your document. If we hook up a printer to our computer, we choose File, Print, we're going to get a 5-inch by 5-inch printout. Okay, so don't forget, in that little document pop-up window that we saw, it told us that we have a 5-inch by 5-inch image. Okay, it also told us that the resolution was 300 pixels per inch. So whenever I'm working on a print project, this is the area that I'm concerned about. When I'm working on perhaps a brochure in InDesign, I don't really care if the image is 1500 pixels by 1500 pixels or if it's 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. What I care about is the actual physical or print dimensions of the image. I hope that makes sense. Last but not least, we have the bottom area of the image size dialog box, and that just gives us a variety of options. We have scale styles, so in other words, scale any special effects that we might have applied to the image. Constrain proportions. What this guy's going to do is lock the width and height, both the pixel width and height and the physical width and height. In other words, notice I have these chain links over on the right-hand side of the screen. In other words, if I change the width, then the height is automatically going to change as well. And I can turn this guy on and off, and you'll notice that these chain links appear and disappear depending on if I have constrained proportions activated or deactivated. All right, now, last but not least, and this is where things get hairy, this is where things get technical, we have resample image. Now, we have a whole smattering of resampling methods that we can choose here, and I'm getting way ahead of myself, I'm finding. So I'm going to slow things down here because we have to have a conversation. We have to dig deeper into this idea of resampling, which we will in upcoming exercises. For now, maybe let's just tuck that into the back of our minds. So there's your image size dialog box. Again, from the image menu down to image size, or Control-Alt-I or Command-Option-I to get into this guy. And again, whenever someone sends me an image, I'm popping myself into this dialog box because I want to know what I'm working with. If they send me something that's intended for print output and it doesn't contain enough quality, I want to know right off the bat so that I can email them back and say, hey, do you have a higher quality version of this image?